Thought Detroit politics couldn't get any stranger? This week proved we haven't seen it all. The Detroit City Council in chaos. President Charles Pugh, wanting a medical leave, was turned down by emergency manager Kevyn Orr, who moved to strip Pugh of salary and responsibilities. At the same time, a scandal explodes around Pugh and a teen student he mentored. And if that wasn't enough instability, President Pro Tempore Brown resigned this week to take a job in Orr's office. Where does this leave council? And more importantly, the people they're supposed to represent. And welcome to My Week at the end of yet another packed news week. I'm Christy McDonald. Let's get started with our contributors and the editorial page editors of the Detroit News and Detroit Free Press, Nolan Finley and Stephen Henderson. Gentlemen, so last week it was a very busy news week, and Nolan said, you know, that means next week it'll be slow.
That's right.
And
you jinxed us.
Clearly it was wrong.
Well, that's not unusual.
So, you know, we said it in the beginning of the show, you think that you've seen it all, but the situation that is now surrounding Charles Pugh, the president of the Detroit City Council, and the fact that he is truly missing and hasn't shown up for work.
We really should run a number across our screen. If you see Charles Pugh, call us at 888, whatever. I mean, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. You've got the city council president playing Greta Garbo out here. You know, I don't want to be public. He's a politician. He's an elected official. He became a public man when he ran for office, and now he's hiding instead of stepping up and saying and addressing these very serious allegations against him and telling us whether he's going to continue on the council or not continue on the council.
And we do tape the show a little bit early on Friday, so again, things could happen a little bit during the day. But Stephen, what was your thought as this was all kind of unfolding this week?
Well, again, where is the council president? I mean, I think you have a responsibility to answer these kind of charges. I think you also have a responsibility to Kevyn Orr, who was being a little aggressive, I think, in deciding that somehow he's just going to stop paying Pugh because he wants this medical leave. I mean, maybe we ought to wait to find out what the facts are and what's really going on before we make that kind of decision. But really the onus falls on Pugh at this point to come out and say, here's what's going on with me. I'm either going to take a leave to try to deal with this stuff and then come back, or I'm just going to resign. And that's either of those choices is an honorable one. It's not honorable to just let it happen and disappear.
And you got some very serious charges out here. You've got a mother who says he was inappropriate with her son, her teenage son, when he was a minor. When you're in the public eye, when you have a public job, you have to step up and say, you have to address those allegations. You have to tell the people who elected you whether or not there's any truth behind them or how you're going to deal with this situation.
Do you think Kevyn Orr has dealt with this situation correctly?
Yeah, no choice. You can't pay a guy who doesn't show up to work. That's sort of mentality in Detroit that, okay, we're here, the people are paying us, we've got this job, we can do whatever we please. That's going to end. And I think he's sending a very good message here that no matter who you are, you're not going to get paid with taxpayer dollars, scarce taxpayer dollars, for not showing up to work.
So let's look at the larger picture of Detroit City Council right now. Where does this leave them, especially now that you've got Gary Brown, who resigned this week and is going to be working for Kevyn Orr?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could very quickly have 3 empty seats on a 9-member council, which I think suggests again that it's not a very serious body and that it's not functioning, which I think is a very dangerous message to send. I think you want to make sure you fill those seats, show people that representative democracy still means something even when there is an emergency manager. It will mean something for sure when Kevyn Orr and everyone else packs up and leaves. We go back to elected governance in the city, but it's courting a kind of constitutional crisis that you just don't need at the same time that you have all this other stuff going on in the city. You need the council to be intact. You need it to play whatever role Kevyn Orr decides it should play, and do that honorably.
They can't, Steve. They can't appoint replacement members at this point. And in terms of representative democracy, everybody knows that's a pretense now under the emergency manager. But you can't have the council going in and saying, well, we're going to appoint this person and this person and this person who may be on the fall ballot.
Well, they can't appoint people on the ballot.
That's crazy. Stop them from doing it.
Well,
I mean, there's no rules governing this thing, and if they did that and gave somebody an advantage going
yeah,
into
well, that
the
would be
fall,
wrong too.
I
well,
think
that's what they're talking about doing.
but I think it's also very upsetting for Detroiters who maybe those people on council are their only touchstones, and Kevyn Orr has taken over, that they feel that they could still call Gary Brown's office, they could still call Charles Pugh's office, and feel that they could at least give their opinion, whether how much of that
And
can
that was
actually
the
follow
justification
through.
for keeping them in place. But now you had Kwame Kenyatta disappear for 4 months. Now you got Charles Pugh disappearing for 2 and 3 weeks. If you're going to make that argument, and if you're going to continue to collect the paycheck and hold the position and defend the position, you got to show up.
Obviously, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. But so, what do Detroiters do at this point when they see that their council? I mean, you're living in the city of Detroit. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, again, I think it's a very dangerous message to send. The idea that somehow emergency management completely displaces the elected governance of the city, and this is what feeds the what I think are the wrong-headed conspiracy theories about what this is really about and where we're headed. It's hard to defend what's going on when you see the political infrastructure crumble the way that it is, and if nobody does anything to shore it back up.
Okay, so do you think that there are going to be other members that are going to leave? Do other members on the council look at this and say, well, why am I still hanging around here?
Well, you've got other members on the council who aren't running for re-election in the fall and who may decide that if a job comes up, that rather than wait till January, it's a good time to get a head start on their post-political careers.
But
What do
there
you
again,
think?
think about that. Think about what that means. These are people who ran 4 years ago, agreed to serve for 4 years. Anybody else who just said, well, those last 6 months, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go off and do something else. We'd vilify him. That's irresponsible. You were elected to this job to do it for a certain amount of time. You got to do it.
So do you agree with Gary Brown's decision to go work for Kevyn Orr?
Not really. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gary Brown's, and I have been since before he was on the council. I'm not sure what qualifies him as an executive turnaround person, which is really what the job is that he's being asked to do. There's nothing in his background that suggests that he can do that, and talking about it from the council table doesn't really recommend him for it in my mind. I also think it's, again, dangerous to be plucking people out of the political infrastructure where they need to be to show that that's still intact, and putting him in the ranks of the emergency managers administration. But then you also got the salary issue here. $225,000 a year for this job, when Kevyn Orr, every other word out of Kevyn Orr's mouth is about how broke we are. There's some inconsistencies here that again lend themselves to the questions about what are you guys really doing, and does it make a lot of sense?
Do you agree?
No, of course not. Gary Brown was the brightest guy on that council.
Well,
one of the
but what's
brightest
that
guys in
saying?
city government. He understands the city. He's been around the city a long time. That brings Kevyn Orr an advantage that he doesn't have himself. He understands politics and can navigate some of the political hoops, but he also understands how the city works and where he's made a point during his time on council to figure out where the waste is and what's not working. And I think he brings Kevyn Orr that experience and some very good solutions. And if he can save some time and money in this process, he's worth every dime. And I understand they're going to boot Chris Andrews, so they're going to save that salary. I don't think it's a matter of his salary or what it looks like in terms of the council. It's about getting things done, and this move helps Kevyn Orr get things done much more efficiently.
So doesn't Gary Brown have those intangibles that he knows the landscape, and isn't that maybe more important?
I've had a lot of conversations with Gary that suggest he does understand how broken the city government is, and he's got good ideas for fixing them. There's a big leap, though, from being able to sit and talk. I mean, I can sit and talk about it. Does that qualify me to be the turnaround guy?
But he's not the turnaround guy. Kevyn
Yes, he
Orr
is
is the turnaround guy. He is now helping Kevyn Orr with the turnaround, and identifying the things that need turning around are a big part of that job.
Last
But if
word,
that's
Stephen.
all he was doing, there's 18 reports sitting downtown right now that tell him that. You don't need a person that you're paying almost $250,000 a year to help you do
But
it.
remember, he's replacing somebody. This is not a new
Understood.
position.